Hi everybody, this is Lucia. I miss you so much. I hope you are good. Today we are going to paint a Christmas decoration. The most important is to have fun, so play your favorite music and enjoy. My special translator is going to help in the video, so Jazz is here to help us.
Let's go! First, we're going to do the design. So we're going to put the carbon paper, and we got to be careful because this is the most bright part down and the part that doesn't mess up on top. And we put the sheet of paper, we put a little tape, and with being very careful, we're not going to touch a lot because everything that we do here is going to show up on the paper. So now with a colored pencil, we're going to draw the lines. Being very careful. You don't have to push down very hard. If you just do it a little bit, it'll be fine. It's important that you do this with a colored pencil because if you do with a black pencil, you're not going to be able to see the lines that you're drawing. It'll be more difficult. Now, before we take it all the way off, we need to check and make sure we got all the lines. For example, I'm missing a little part here. We're going to check it out. And I forgot this little part too. And that's it. So now we're going to take this off. The paper and the carbon paper. And we're ready to paint. If you made some marks, you can erase with your eraser. Okay, so if you're starting to paint, it's very important that we start to use the main colors, the primary colors. I'm going to use yellow and blue to mix. With acrylic, it's super important to mix yellow first because it's the lighter color. So we'll put it on one side of the palette. And then little by little, we'll start adding the blue. Until we get the tone that we want. I'm going to start with this light green. I'm going to clean my brush. Just a little of water. And now the most important thing is to take a little color with the point. And we're going to start to paint. Really slowly, little by little, only with the point. We're going to paint different leaves, for example, that one. What we're going to do is we're going to paint some leaves darker and some leaves lighter. A lot of time people that are starting to paint tell me, what brand should I get? What do you recommend? What's better? What's worse? I always recommend that when you're starting out, you don't need colors with a lot of quality. What you need to learn how to do is to learn to mix colors, control water, and not much more. When you start to advance, you'll start to understand and realize what brands that you like and what brands you don't like. For example, for me, it's super important that the paint is that the paint is thick enough to cover the paper. So we don't have to put on a lot of different coats, like this one, for example. This paint I'm using isn't really great quality, but it works pretty good. You don't have to have 5 or 6 different greens. As long as you have a couple of greens with a primary yellow and some different greens, you can have as many type of greens as you want. I'm just choosing random leaves, okay, to use this green with. It's true that some, like this one, are the ones that are at the bottom. I'm gonna use a darker color for the issue of the shadows, but for the rest of them, I'm just gonna randomly choose. If you see that the brush isn't working well with the paper, is because you probably need more water. So I'm gonna get a little bit more water in the paint. And now you'll see that it's a lot easier to paint with. Remember that you always paint with the point. It's not okay to do it like this. It's always using the tip. It's really slowly, really short brush strokes. The print that you have to download is made in watercolor, because one thing is to paint with watercolor and to paint with acrylic are two different things. This green, we're going to leave it like that. Now we're going to make a green that's a little bit darker, okay? So, same thing. I'm going to put a little yellow on my palette. I'm going to clean the brush with water. And I'm going to add blue little by little. Until we get the mix that we like. So I want to make it a lot darker. And this color we're going to use for the leaves that look like they're in the shadows. This is a really basic exercise. It's only so you can learn to mix colors, so you can learn to make green. And also to learn brush strokes. And so we can have a good time together. Okay, so now I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm going to make a different green. So remember, you always use the lightest color first on our palette. And later we'll start adding little by little some blue. So now I'm going to make a really light green. Something important to know about acrylic is that when we're painting, the colors are usually a little bit lighter than how they look when they dry. Usually when they dry, they look a little bit darker. Now I want to do a tone that's even lighter. So it's time to use white. So how are we going to do it? So I'm going to add some white to my palette. And the last green that I used, the lightest one, so I'm going to start adding it to the white. So it's going to be a really, really light green. Now I'm going to paint these last couple of leaves, and I'm going to change greens. And now we're going to do another green. I'm going to take this green as a reference and add to it yellow. I had to clean my brush because that whole part just had way too much paint on it. So I like it to be a lot cleaner. So we only want to get the color on the tip. So we're almost coming to the end. Now I'm going to take this darker green that we did before, and I'm going to paint some of the leaves that I think they would look better with that color. Remember, these greens are turning out differently because I have a certain type of paint. So your greens might look different, no problem. The most important thing is that you have fun and that we have a good time together. It doesn't have to see the same, it doesn't have to be the same drawing that I have. You can experiment and try different colors. You can do it, all right? Just give it a shot. So now we're going to do the fruits, or whatever these little balls are. So we're going to use a little bit of white and just a little bit of black. Just a little. Like I told you before, the first color that we use is white because it's the lighter one, always. So then we'll add just a little bit of black until we get the tone that we like. If you did it backwards, if you wanted to clear up or make the black lighter, then it would just not work. So always add the darker color to the lighter color. Never add the lighter color to the darker color because you're going to just waste a lot of paint. And it's never going to get light enough for you. Okay, so it's a very light gray. So now we do the little balls or fruit. If y'all would like to do it in more of a Christmas style, you can add red. I like gray. Remember that if this part of your paper is still wet, don't put your hand on it because you got to be very careful. Or you can wait till it gets dry. But don't put your hand on top of wet paint. So always be very careful. We need to do brown for the stems. So how do we do brown? With the 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. With these 3 colors, you can make brown. So since we already have a green, the darkest green that we have, for example, this green was made by blue and yellow. So all we have to do is add a little bit of red. So we're going to mix it here in the middle. So I'm going to get this green. Since I'm not going to use it anymore, I want to take advantage of it. So I want to clean my brush. And then little by little, I'll start adding the red until I get brown. So just little by little, we'll get brown. This will be different depending on what colors you use, but I'm also going to add some yellow because I'd like it to be a little bit more yellow. I think this is okay. So I'm going to clean my brush. And now with the tip of the brush, I'm going to paint the branches. This is the hardest part. So my recommendation is that you do it very slowly and being very, very careful. If you think that the brush isn't painting with enough ease, just put a little bit of water into the brown. So that it paints easier. And remember, always with the tip. Always paint with the tip. Really slowly. Don't get nervous, because the most important is to have fun and to learn. I'm gonna put a little bit more water on my brush. Sometimes I do this. Turn it in circles so that the tip is a little bit more fine and thin. And I keep painting. I forgot this little part here. Now with red, since I used this red for the brown earlier, I need to clean it. Because if it's dirty like that, it doesn't work. So now we're going to add some red. We're going to make the bow. The same thing, being very careful. Only depositing the paint with the brush and the tip. So we're going to go painting. And to finish up, we clean our brush. We dry it with our rag. And we're going to paint some little dots. And that's it. Remember, always you need to sign your work. So when you hang it in your house, people can see that you did it. So I'm going to sign mine in green on a little side. I add a little bit of water because we want it to paint very easily when we sign. And now we're done.